The movie begins inside a bus in complete chaos. The passengers are unconscious, while knives, bullet casings, and blood stains are scattered across the floor. The first person to wake up is Lin, who realizes he's holding a handgun even though he's handcuffed. Terrified, he looks around before peeking out the window and discovering that the bus is stranded in the middle of the desert, miles away from any sign of civilization. The only bit of good news is that the handcuff keys are within his reach, allowing him to unlock himself. Lin then tries to wake the driver, only to realize he isn't breathing. He starts pressing buttons on the dashboard until the TV shuts off. At that exact moment, he catches his reflection in the bus mirror and freezes in shock. He touches his face as if he doesn't even recognize the person staring back at him. Suddenly, brief flashes of memory rush through his mind, showing police officers inside the bus and someone being shot, but he can't piece the memories together. A second passenger wakes up, groaning in pain. Lin rushes over, desperate for answers, but quickly realizes the man is just as confused as he is. As more passengers regain consciousness, it becomes clear that none of them remember how they ended up there. Suddenly, a woman screams after spotting a body lying near the bus door. Once she realizes the person is actually dead, panic spreads throughout the bus. Someone opens the door, causing the corpse to roll outside, and everyone bolts off the bus in terror. Some of the passengers keep running until they disappear behind the sand dunes. Moments later, Lin hears horrifying screams and sees a massive cloud of dust rising from the same direction. While some people try to escape it, the others don't understand what's happening until heads begin flying off as the cloud passes through them. It quickly becomes obvious that this isn't ordinary dust. Whatever it touches dies instantly. Everyone desperately runs back toward the bus, but the deadly cloud swallows most of them, including the screaming woman. Only 5 people survive: Lin Bolin, the second person to wake up, Chen, the driver, a bald man named Xiao, and a dwarf named John. The deadly dust cloud continues spreading as Chen floors the accelerator. Nearby, a mysterious creature can be heard growling and making strange noises in the darkness. Xiao tries to use a cell phone but can't remember the password, while John admits he can't even remember his own name. The story then shifts to a young police officer named Fang, who is searching through a wrecked van while her radio reports that 3 robbers have escaped after pulling off a bank heist. She finds a cell phone and plays a recording of a terrified woman begging the kidnappers not to hurt her daughter. Back on the bus, the 5 survivors realize they all suffer from complete amnesia and don't even know who they are. Even so, when they find a bag full of cash, Xiao insists it belongs to him, but no one believes him. Chen searches the remaining bags and discovers several small bottles of water. This sparks a violent fight between him, John, and Xiao, who begin throwing the bottles at each other until one lands in Bolin's hands. Just as he's about to drink it, a gunshot rings out. Xiao has found the handgun and fires into the air, declaring that no one else is allowed to drink the water. Everything changes when they hear a little girl calling for her father. They discover a young girl hiding inside the bus and allow her to drink all of the water. They soon realize she has no idea which one of them is actually her father. She starts crying until John manages to cheer her up with a monkey mask. They then learn that her name is Lai Lai and that she was kidnapped at 7 o'clock that morning. Meanwhile, Officer Fang is with Lai Lai's mother, listening to a message from the kidnappers explaining how to deliver the ransom. Out in the desert, things take another disturbing turn when John finds an object he had thrown out of the bus window hours earlier, proving that the group has been traveling in circles. Xiao nearly strangles Chen, and Lin uses the chaos to take the gun from him, but eventually hands it back. The group decides to follow the line of the sand dunes while unloading as much weight from the bus as possible since they're also running out of fuel. By nightfall, they come across a large pool of water and rush over to satisfy their thirst. They fill several bottles, while John keeps an eye on Lai Lai. Just as the two are about to head back, the others hear a terrifying sound approaching from somewhere nearby. Out of nowhere, John is attacked by something massive and incredibly fast, so fast that no one can see it clearly. Lai Lai starts crying again, and the others quickly carry her back onto the bus. Moments later, John appears at one of the windows, desperately begging for help. Everyone is too terrified to open the door, but Lai Lai has grown deeply attached to the little man and pleads with them to save him. They finally head outside to look for him, while Bolin stays by the door the entire time. Suddenly, John grabs Bolin's leg and tells the group he managed to hide underneath the bus. But as they're making their way back, a demon-like creature suddenly appears and lunges at Lin, trying to bite him. Xiao shoots at the creature, forcing it to flee, and everyone makes it safely back onto the bus, including the injured John. Despite everything that's happened, John refuses to give up his faith. He explains to Lai Lai that evil comes in the forms of wind, water, and fire. That means only one evil force remains, since the group has already survived the deadly dust storm and the demon from the lake. Chen, however, is far less optimistic and informs everyone that they've completely run out of fuel. Lin suggests they spend the night inside the bus and take turns standing guard. Lai Lai stays awake and refuses to drink any water, saying she wants to save it in case John gets thirsty. As Lin continues to experience flashes of his lost memories, he asks Lai Lai to try remembering anything at all, but she says she can't. Without anyone noticing, a glowing circle suddenly appears in the middle of the desert, resembling a swirling portal, before disappearing without leaving a trace. The following morning, Lai Lai's mother arrives at the agreed meeting spot to deliver the ransom, but no one shows up. Police officers remain hidden nearby, watching everything unfold. Then the kidnapper receives a phone call informing him that the deal has been cancelled. Back in the desert, the survivors realize the night lasted only 3 hours before the sun rose again. While no one is paying attention, Lai Lai wanders away to inspect an object lying in the sand and discovers it's actually a landmine warning marker. When the others realize she's gone, they begin calling her name, but Lin suddenly tells everyone to stay quiet. They all hear the deadly wind approaching once again. Worried about the little girl, Xiao rushes toward her but accidentally steps on what appears to be a landmine. The explosion shocks everyone, yet Xiao survives despite being injured. The bigger problem is that Lai Lai is standing on another landmine while the deadly dust cloud is rapidly closing in. Remaining as calm as possible, Lin carefully slides the blade of a knife between the mine and the sole of Lai Lai's shoe, allowing her to lift her foot without setting it off. By now, the deadly cloud is almost on top of them. John grabs Lai Lai and carries her back to the bus, while Lin is left holding the knife, unsure of what to do next. Finally, he gathers the courage to let go. The mine doesn't explode, but the dust cloud reaches the bus within seconds. Lai Lai bursts into tears again when she realizes Lin isn't with them. But when everyone steps outside to look for him, they find him crawling out of the bus's luggage compartment, where he had hidden just in time. After the scare, Xiao slowly regains consciousness, but the group's hope begins to fade once again. That's when Lin points towards something beyond the sand dunes, suggesting there might be someone out there who can help them. Meanwhile, Officer Fang remains with Lai Lai's mother, Bai. Bai explains that she became a widow when Lai Lai was still a baby. She never had the courage to tell her daughter the truth, so she made up a story that her father was a sailor who would one day return to celebrate her birthday. That's why Lai Lai had been so upset the day before. It was her 8th birthday, and just like every year, her father never came back. So she ran away from home to search for him, only to end up being kidnapped. As Bai finishes telling her story, one of the officers announces that they've obtained new information by monitoring phone calls. At the same time, Lai Lai and her new companions cross the desert toward what looks like the entrance to an underground bunker or fortified shelter. Even the injured Xiao is with them, carried by the others. Along the way, they pass scattered skeletons before finally reaching the shelter. Lai Lai overcomes her fear of the darkness, and everyone heads inside the tunnel. There, they discover equipment belonging to a British scientist, along with several old, dust-covered weapons. While exploring the bunker using their phone flashlights, they notice an opening in one of the walls, but Lin calls everyone over to show them what he's found. Lin discovers a large stockpile of canned food, and everyone gets excited at the chance to finally satisfy their hunger. But their excitement doesn't last long. The moment Chen tastes the food, he immediately spits it out. Bolin checks the date printed on one of the cans and realizes it was produced in 1915. Unlike the others, Lin isn't surprised because he had already noticed that all the weapons and military uniforms looked extremely old, and nothing in the shelter suggested they were still in China. Bolin is horrified by the possibility that they might actually be in another country, and fears those soldiers could return at any moment. Even so, the group decides to remain inside the bunker. A short while later, Chen celebrates after finding a jerrycan full of gasoline. He leaves with Lin and Bolin to refill the bus's fuel tank, while Xiao and John stay behind with Lai Lai inside the shelter. Suddenly, the three of them hear a terrifying sound. At the same time, Lin discovers that the bus is stuck in the sand. He starts digging around the tires until his shovel strikes something metallic. He uncovers an old military helmet and a bundle containing personal belongings and a diary. Since Bolin is the only one who can read other languages, he begins translating the soldier's journal, leaving the others horrified by what it reveals. According to the journal, the soldiers' unit was on its way to battle when they encountered an incredibly dense fog. Once the fog cleared, they found themselves trapped in an unfamiliar desert and didn't recover their memories until nearly a month later. The soldier ends that section of his journal by writing that he witnessed events beyond explanation because this desert wasn't even located on Earth. Meanwhile, Lai Lai clings tightly to both Xiao and John because the sound they heard earlier really did belong to one of the monsters. The three of them remain perfectly silent, hoping it will leave, but John realizes it isn't going anywhere. He decides to confront the creature instead. The monster immediately leaps at him, but John opens fire, successfully scaring it away. As Bolin continues reading the journal, he discovers that the soldiers eventually found a way back home. The diary explains that a temporary portal occasionally opens somewhere in the desert. The group barely has time to process this revelation before the monster bursts into the shelter, roaring at them. Fortunately, the bus has finally been freed from the sand, allowing everyone to escape. But a heavy impact on the roof alerts them that the monster has caught up with them. Even worse, it isn't alone anymore. A whole pack of creatures has surrounded the bus. One of the monsters manages to climb inside the bus, but instead of attacking anyone, it suddenly loses interest and walks away. Gasping for breath, Bolin urgently tells Chen to turn the bus around and go back, but he's stunned when Chen refuses to do it. Chen suddenly notices that the portal has opened. At that exact moment, it begins spinning just above the ground not far from them. As a massive pack of monsters gathers around the entrance to the bunker, Lin and Bolin become furious with Chen's cold attitude and his refusal to go back for the other three survivors. Chen insists that, according to the soldier's journal, the portal could close at any moment, and no one knows when it will open again. Besides, the monsters have already reached the bunker, which means the others are probably dead. His explanation doesn't convince Lin or Bolin. They'd rather walk back on foot than spend another minute with him. Before Bolin steps off the bus, he remembers how kind Lai Lai was and how she called every one of them Dad, even though she had no idea who her real father was. Inside the bunker, John and Xiao show the exact opposite of Chen's selfishness, risking their lives to protect the little girl at any cost. The monsters finally break into the bunker, and despite Xiao's large supply of weapons and ammunition, he's still just one man fighting an entire pack of alien creatures. Realizing there's no escape, he tearfully says goodbye to Lai Lai, pulls the pin on a hand grenade, and detonates it. Lin and Bolin hear the explosion from far away and are overwhelmed with despair, especially after some of the monsters survive the blast and become even more aggressive. Lai Lai can't stop crying, and the sound immediately attracts the creatures, forcing John to rush her out of the bunker. The movie then flashes back to the moment when John first boarded the bus carrying a red box, which he hid beneath one of the seats. It turns out that the woman who screamed earlier was actually the bus conductor, and the phone call she had with John was the same one the officer working with Fong had overheard. At the same time, Chin is shown talking on the phone, telling someone that the deal has been cancelled. After he hangs up, Lai Lai asks how much longer it will take to reach her father's house. Chin tells her they're almost there. He then calls his girlfriend, telling her that he's about to become very rich and promising to give their future baby a luxurious life. Instead, she shocks him by revealing that she already had an abortion. Before he can process the news, an even bigger problem appears. The police have blocked the road. At that moment, Detective Lin boards the bus and begins checking the passengers' IDs before asking to see what's inside the red box. John opens it, revealing what appears to be a collection of ordinary items. But when he pushes the box back under the seat, Lin notices blood underneath it and realizes something suspicious is going on. He then notices strange behavior from one of the passengers sitting next to Xiao and immediately draws his gun. Bolin points his own gun at Lin, while another police officer aims at Bolin. Suddenly, Xiao snatches the passenger's handgun and points it at Detective Lin. Bolin forces the officers off the bus and shoots a random passenger just to prove he's serious. The officers have no choice but to obey his demands, taking the wounded passenger outside while Xiao handcuffs Lin and Bolin forces the driver to keep driving. The story then returns to the present. John and Lai Lai are still running through the sand dunes when the first monster catches up to them and knocks John to the ground. Lai Lai starts crying again, but Lin arrives just in time to open fire on the creatures. Although Bolin is armed, none of the courage he showed in the past seems to be left. Still, he eventually joins the fight. The group finally reunites, But John is badly injured, forcing Lai to help him keep moving. Their ammunition runs out while 3 monsters are still alive. Lin and Bolin prepare for what seems like a hopeless last stand, but at the last second, the bus suddenly runs one of the monsters over after Chin is overcome with guilt and decides to return. He shoots at the remaining 2 monsters and yells for everyone to get on the bus. Unfortunately, they can't get John aboard in time, leaving him behind. Horrified, Lai watches the monsters tear him apart and nearly jumps out the window to save him, but Bolin stops her. To make sure she can't run away, he handcuffs her wrist. Another flashback reveals the police chasing the 3 bank robbers, Xiao, Bolin, and the 3rd man, who appears to have been wounded during the robbery. It turns out Bolin was far more capable back then, shooting out one of the police car's tires and causing several patrol vehicles to crash. The bus then enters a tunnel while another police car continues chasing it, as additional units block the exit on the other side. One of the officers reviews a file showing that the 3 criminals had once served time together in the same prison and had robbed the bank earlier that morning before going on the run. A short time later, Fang and Bai arrive at the scene. By pure coincidence, Lai and her kidnapper, Chin, are both inside the same bus, though no one realizes it. Consumed by hatred, Bolin grabs Chin and tries to shove him out of the open bus door in an attempt to force the police to stop chasing them. During the confusion, Lin manages to free himself. He gets into a violent struggle with Bolin, and a gun accidentally goes off, killing the 3rd robber, whose body collapses beside the bus door. At that exact moment, everything inside the bus begins to distort, giving everyone an unbearable headache, the very event that transports them into the desert. Back in the present, Chin drives the bus at full speed toward the portal while Lin desperately fights off the monsters. One of the creatures climbs onto the bus and reaches through the window, grabbing Lai by the shoulder. Since she's still handcuffed and can't escape, Bolin steps in front of her and is dragged outside instead. Lin tries to calm Lai and begs Chin to stop the bus so they can save Bolin. Lying on the sand, Bolin begins remembering who he really is. But Chin shouts at Lin, insisting that if they stop now, the monsters will kill them all. Moments later, 2 more monsters climb through the windows. With no bullets left, Lin fights them with nothing but a knife. The effort isn't enough. One of the creatures knocks him to the floor and bites into his shoulder. Lai tries to help by throwing a plastic bottle at the monster, but Lin grabs her hand to keep her from putting herself in danger. She eventually slips free of the handcuffs and runs toward the front of the bus. Lin continues fighting and manages to kill one of the monsters, but the victory costs him his life. Now nothing stands between the final monster and the little girl. Watching everything unfold in the rearview mirror, Chin waits until the very last second before letting go of the steering wheel, grabbing the monster, and diving out the window with it. Lai is left alone inside the bus as the strange sound returns, sending a wave of pain through her head while everything around her begins to warp again. At last, the bus passes through the portal. Back in the real world, only a few minutes have passed. The police are still waiting outside the tunnel when the bus emerges from the darkness. They order the criminals to raise their hands and make no sudden moves. But the only person who steps off the bus is Lai. Bai runs over and hugs her tightly, only to be devastated when she realizes her daughter no longer recognizes her. The police officers board the bus, and moments later they call for medical assistance after discovering that Lin is still alive. And that's how the movie ends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget that your opinion matters, so leave your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel.